There you go.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the
Morning.
Program Executive Committee meeting, April 16th, 2024. This meeting's being recorded, and I'm Sue Ellen Fast, Vice Chair, sitting in for Chair Bill Hayes, who can't be with us today. I'd just like to acknowledge we're meeting by Zoom over the waters of Alquetzamhau Sound and Nahualicum Bowen Island in Squamish Nation territory. So just introducing our agenda today is available on the municipal website. And we've got most of our folks with us here today. So anybody who need to add anything to the agenda?
I don't have anything.
Okay, no
Um,
late items. Go ahead, Liam.
I just want to do a verbal update on Next Gen 911. It might
Okay,
be,
so if we put that under new business, 6.2.
It's business arising from the minutes, I think, because we talked about it at the last meeting.
Almost everything is business arising at the minutes. I'm just
right?
going to
Yeah.
put this under 6.2 because I started writing it. And so this is 911 update. Liam. And I'm wondering if we can just add a note about the opening of the health center and the ambulance changes. And then just so we've got them in the minutes for 10 years from now. And we can do that at 6.3. And then anybody else got anything to add? Looks good. Okay, so then who'd like to move adoption of the agenda?
I'll move adoption of the agenda as amended.
Thank you. And John has seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks, Ed. And how about the minutes? Any changes there?
I'll move adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. There's a couple of typo-y things, but nothing worth talking about, I don't think. Just near the top there where it's if you want to correct them, I'll send you a note later. And then, but nothing of substance. So I will second that. And all those in favor of adopting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Minutes are adopted. Nobody in public comments today? How could there be? Oops. No. Okay. So we're going to move on then to item 4.1, extreme heat initial response guide. And I'll turn this over to Tess in a second just to let you know this was on our October 2023 agenda, but this committee didn't adopt it at that point. And but it was presented to us. And Tess, you want to tell us, is this an update or is there anything else?
No, the last meeting, it was, we realized, of course, there were some changes to the staffing and stuff coming up. So those are the only changes that were in it, just some updates of phone numbers and
Okay.
names.
Do you want to change the updated date on it then? Because right now it says updated August 2023, or is
That's
that
when
minor?
they started. And so I wasn't sure if it should be update as now or then, because this whole update session started back in August, and each meeting it's been, oh, but there's this and then there's this. So I just wasn't sure if it should have a final adoption date of today or a final update date.
Okay, thanks. Well, before we get to that, I've got one more little thing on page 3 of the response guide. There's a little number. It's under extreme heat criteria. It says 14:005, and I didn't know what that meant. Wondered if you wanted to, if it means anything, if you want to take it out. Page 3, sort of in the middle of the page. Daily temperature forecasts indicate that average of today's 14:05 temperature. It's in the little box, second one, extreme heat criteria for coastal Southwest.
That's the time, so I think.
Yeah, we could have opened it up there, but
Is it the time?
I'm
2:05?
guessing.
Yeah, me too. That's the trouble, is guessing at the beginning of a document like this.
like in the definition,
I beg your pardon?
the level 1 heat warning.
I'm on page 3. It's in the 1.1 definition. Yeah, it says daily temperature forecasts indicate the average of today's 14:05 temperature. So if it is a time, if you could insert PM, that would clarify it.
Where are we?
Is the second box on the
Oh, the
third
second box.
page. Yeah. Daily temperature forecasts indicate the average of today's 14, it's 2:05 temperature, tomorrow's T-max.
Today's 14.05 temperature and tomorrow's T-max. I think that's a typo.
I'm thinking it's supposed to be the temperature on that day at 2:05 p.m., which would be
Yeah.
14:05.
Yeah. So if you could just clarify that.
Temperature max.
Okay.
But I don't, yeah, it's written.
Okay, so I can do just add a time in there or something.
So
Yeah.
this is an example?
Yeah.
It's the criteria, and it's for the ministry. The Vancouver Health folks will determine whether the criteria are met, and they're the ones that notify us. So it's not crucial for us, but I just didn't want anybody to be stumbling at the beginning like I was this morning.
Right.
Well, 14:05 is clearly a time definition for those of us that are used to using the 24-hour clock. But what I don't understand is, does it have to be the temperature at 2:05 p.m.?
I suggest that what we've already talked about is that Tess is going to check and correct that to clarify it, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do that, Tess, then I will. Then I think that's great, and that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything else?
Well, I would just like an answer to my question. Do we have to take the temperature at 2:05 p.m. every day? Is that what Coastal Health wants?
No, Coastal Health takes the temperature, and they determine tomorrow's max and all that kind of thing. And when you get down to 1.5, the trigger is when they've done all their temperature taking and a medical health officer requests that the Bowen Island municipality implement the Bowen Island Extreme Heat Initial Response Guideline, which then goes on. So we're just on the definitions page, but I just didn't
I know we're on the definitions page. I was just curious as to whether the temperature was, they always use the temperature at 2:05 p.m. or they use the temperature at whatever time they decide to use it. That was my question.
I think that's what Tess is going to clarify. So Tess is going to look into that and make any necessary corrections to it.
Okay, thank you.
So can are we ready then to move this, approve it as presented and amended at the April 16th EPEC meeting?
I'd like to move, I'm not hearing anything else, that the Emergency Program Executive Committee approve the Extreme Heat Initial Response Guide as amended at this meeting.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ed. Any more discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That passes you. Oh, any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Good stuff. It's great to have that all laid out. And going on to 5.1, emergency program projects update. 5.1, Tess Taylor, over to you.
Okay, so as per our last meeting, you'll notice in the status update page spreadsheet, I included a column on the left-hand side that in the various sections. So under financial grants, G7 is in relation to the 2023 ESS grant. so that you can find the things I'm updating more quickly. Did everybody find that? Everybody see that? Okay, so for the grant update, G7, the ESS 2023 grant was paid out as it was spent. G8, the 2023 EOC grant, we're just waiting for a final invoice for reprogramming the radios, and I'll be sending that final report in. For G9, the 2023 Fire Smart grant, we just recently met with the contractor to kind of go over what's been done and what's upcoming. And what we've decided to do is hold a public event, letting people know about the neighborhood assessments that have been done and what steps would be if they wanted to get their neighborhood included in a neighborhood assessment for the next round. And a bit on how to be a Fire Smart champion, which would, the Fire Smart champion is a program where one person in a neighborhood kind of takes on organizing the neighborhood to address any items in the assessment that need addressing. And the household assessments were a very popular part of the grant, but we didn't get a lot of uptake yet on the refund, the rebates for that. So we're just kind of giving people a bit of time to get their rebate applications in, and then we will reassess that and see if we can perhaps do some more assessments for the households. For 10G, the NG 911 grant, we just finished work on alternate road names, and I'm about to start working on the landmark names, but we need to have a plan for that. So I'm just setting up a meeting with the contractor.
That's P10. Sorry, that was P10.
G10.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, still in grants. Everything is under G still.
Okay, thank you.
Can we share the screen, Tess?
I think it's
okay. Oh, sorry. No.
Anybody want Steph to share her screen?
Gail, can you see the spreadsheet where you are? Are you looking at it?
No.
It's in the agenda package, so you've got to have two things open on your computer if you haven't printed it.
Right.
Which is a pain.
So let's let Steph bring up the, if you could scroll along with us, Steph, if we could share your desktop, that would be great. Steph, I don't think we're seeing what you might want us to be seeing.
Oh, what are you seeing?
Title,
Just the
October
titles.
23 and January 2024 or 24. It looks like it's just the top row.
Yeah, it looks like it's trying. Sorry, this is
You've got an Excel open?
yeah. This is our taxpayers' dollars busy at work here. This might be weird. Sorry. Um,
Don't worry about taxpayer dollars. The budget comes out today. It'll be way worse.
yes.
The federal budget, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will stop that then.
You want me to
Okay,
try?
so let's-
I
Yeah,
can
sure.
try sharing mine.
On your laptop.
Can Liam share his maybe and see what that works? Maybe you haven't got enough bandwidth.
I think that's what Liam was suggesting. So, yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
So we're on G10 NG 911 is what the Tess was just talking about.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I finished that. We've done the alternate names, and we're going to be working on the landmarks next. The landmarks is going to be a much bigger project, and we need some coordination with the contractor before we can start that one.
Okay.
G12 is the 2024 ESS grant, and we've been approved for $30,000 for that one. The primary focus of that is laptops so that we can use the new online registration and referral program and conference attendance and training. G13 is the EOC 2024 grant. That application has been submitted. The primary focus of that one, we don't have final approval yet, but it's for tabletop exercise in the fall, a Starlink system for backup internet, electrical upgrade in the EOC, furnishings and supplies, in the EOC. So I should have an update for that on the next meeting.
Thank you. Did we skip G11 or are you going to catch it later?
Which one is G11? Oh, yeah, sorry. G11, the composite and volunteer fire department, that one is mostly spent.
That's right, yes.
So we're just
it's actually spent.
It's all spent, so we're just getting ready.
Finalizing the details on that, yeah.
Thank you.
So one that didn't make this list is the Disaster Risk Reduction Climate Adaptation Grant. And I met with Carla and Carlos Goose, the manager of Environment and Parks Planning. And there was a project that was trying to get done that really fit into this grant application. So it was actually Public Works that submitted a grant application for that funding stream for $111,200 to fund an assessment for 253 culverts on the island. And so we've got the application in. The culverts that are on Bowen are up to 75 years old. Some of them are failing, and due to climate change, they're no longer actually provide the capacity required to cope with the atmospheric river events that we're having now. So Public Works is currently working on a project assessing 72 culverts that represented the highest risk of failure. And so if this grant is approved, it will complete the assessment of the others.
Thank you.
And then I'm working on familiarizing myself with what needs to be done as far as mapping and planning requirements for the new app. And then I hope to have an application in for that in October for the next funding intake. There's also a second category in that funding stream for non-structural activities, not planning and not structural. And so one of the things I'm looking at for there is to fund things like misting and water refill stations. So I'm just looking into some locations that might work in. And also not on this list is I worked with Carlos Goose to obtain a roadside regreening grant for the purchase of plants for in front of the fire hall. So that's
great.
Plants chosen were all fire smart. And so I hope to have little signs out there saying things like, I'm a 9-bark shrub and I'm fire smart, that kind of thing, so that there's that awareness right up front.
Wonderful. This is good when you've got too many grant applications, you can't even fit them all in the list.
Those were just kind of, they weren't part of the normal stream, so I didn't really put them in there.
That's fine. That's fine. Not everything needs a written report. And do you want to go on to projects now, or does somebody want to ask any questions before we go further? Okay, carry on, Tess.
Okay, so the extreme heat, we have that's, I'm going to slide down to P4, the alertable piece. I did complete the alertable training, and I'm just in the process of setting up the ESS team to do a volunteer call out test on that. If that is good, if that works well, then I will start doing testing on the EOC call out list.
Very good.
Um,
Can you remind me what the alertable training is? This is different from Bowen's.
Yeah, but it's what replaced Bowen's. Alertable is the system that replaced Bowen's.
Okay, thank you. I just see okay. Gotcha. Thanks. Continue.
And 5, I was to find out about naloxone at the availability at the new community health center, and I started that process very late. I sent an email last week, but I think Allison got an update yesterday at the opening that it actually will be available there.
At the library?
At the new health center.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Very good.
And where else? What's this? P13. Oh, no, I think this came up as a separate event, a separate thing on the agenda for the recommendations from the AAR. So I will go with that.
Okay.
That something that is included in there.
Then we're into the past things, maybe down to the, unless anybody's got questions, can we skip to the new parts, N1 down there?
Yeah, the ends, let's go with N3. N3 is regarding Bruce. Bruce Steele has been a key volunteer in the emergency communications team for many years, and he is retiring. He's still going to be available in an activation, but he's no longer going to be the lead on the team. He had a lot of recommendations, and his recommendations purchased new radio equipment on the last 2023 EOC grant, and he is making sure everything is set up and tickety-boo before he goes, before he exits his role. And he also had some really good suggestions for moving forward. So I'm going to meet with him a little bit more before he's done to try and see what those suggestions are and how we can make them work.
Wonderful.
And for the public use of private property in an evacuation. So just before the January meeting, this came up as a question regarding a member of the public's liability if they provided access through their property to members of the public that were evacuated from their homes. So if they were using private property to get from point A to point B in an evacuation. I could not find anything in the act that actually addressed this situation. So I did requested legal counsel from our casual legal service. And the response was that the new act does not appear to include legal protections for private landowners that provide access to their lands in an evacuation. There's provisions for loss or damage to the property, but not for things like personal injury.
So if a railing on a stairway gave way or something like that, you mean? When people were using it? Yeah.
Well, this is interesting because one of the issues we've come across is there's a fence across a private property on, I believe it's Taylor Way, that is the safest and fastest access to September Morn Beach. It would probably involve 35, 40 homes. And the people are very worried that should somebody get hurt in an evacuation, they would be responsible.
Yeah.
And the other side of that argument is the neighbors are quite concerned that should something happen to Taylor Way, we know that it's subject to some rockfall and issues like that. They would be completely cut off from an evacuation route. So we've got two competing points of view here. And the people on, I have to say, the people in the neighborhood, some of them are quite concerned. It's been an issue for years.
I have a question. Ed, and I don't want you to use any names or specific property addresses or anything like that. This is great. My question is, would the September Morn Beach access not be appropriate?
Public one?
The public one.
You can't get there from
these houses, this neighborhood?
From these houses, yes. If something happened to Taylor Way, it would block any access.
Oh, they couldn't get down there.
They couldn't get down there.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Wow. I beg your pardon?
Around your Hummingbird, is that like
yes.
Down?
Yes, the cul-de-sac, yes.
Okay, well, I don't think we're going to, this is helpful. I think maybe we can follow this up, staff can follow this up as per your work plan and that kind of thing with the groups. I don't think we're going to solve it here, but thank you for bringing it to our attention as an issue that we've got as an island, I think. Many other places wouldn't have this, where people had to cut down through waterfront property to the water. Is that the idea, Liam?
So staff have been involved in this. It was brought to our attention through the NERPs in that neighborhood, and we've been in contact directly with the property owner about it, and so trying to get.
Liam, your volume's really low. Didn't hear the last one.
Okay. Staff have been working on this. It was brought to our attention by the NERPs from the neighborhood, and we've been in direct contact with the property owner as well.
I'm assuming that the Good Samaritan laws would play a part in a lot of this, but I mean, I know they vary jurisdiction by jurisdiction, but you know, because it's not, Good Samaritan laws don't just apply to people who are injured, but also people in peril. So, you know, I don't know if that's been explored or not in terms of liability.
That's something to probably for staff to explore. That's a great point, Gail. I forgot all about that from many years ago.
We can, I mean, so we've requested legal advice on this, and so I think pretty sure they'll look at it.
Okay.
And we can always ask them to specifically look at that too if they don't come back with something favorable.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Okay. And so seeing as how the request is in for the legal counsel and the issue is described here, we don't need to go further into this at this meeting, I don't think. Liam?
Before we shift away from this project plan progress report, I just wanted to share my appreciation with this group, my appreciation for the work that Tess has put into this. I really appreciate the organization and the attention to detail in documenting all of the different initiatives. And it's not even all of them, as Tess alluded to. There's a lot more going on in the background too. So I'm really grateful for this attention to detail and tracking, and it's super helpful for me and I think for the committee. And so I also wanted to draw attention to the work that you're pursuing, Tess, with Jody Lorenz with Tourism Bone about trying to inform tourists about our Alertable app, which is really on the forefront. Like most communities have not yet turned their minds to that type of thing. I know Whistler and some of the other really big tourism draw communities do that type of a thing. And so I think that's fantastic to be on that kind of like front end of things, on the leading edge of things. And lastly, I wanted to also just express my great appreciation for all the work that Bruce Steele has done for the emergency program on Bowen in general, because he's been a remarkable member of the team. And I'm really glad to hear that he will still come out in an activation, because he's a fantastic part of the team. So we really just want to share my great appreciation for all that he's done.
Very good. Thank you very much. Councillor Morse.
Yeah, two things. When Liam was talking about Bruce Steele, should we be asking council to send a letter of thanks for all the work he's done?
Well, this is a question I had too, because I know staff would normally, and folks usually get letters of thank you when they leave, but he's not really leaving. So I would think that a motion from this committee to council to send him a special thank you for his work would be welcome. Is that the motion that you're going to make?
So that was my first comment, and then I've got another one after that. So I would move that we request council to send a letter of appreciation to Bruce Steele for all the work he has done in the ECT area.
Second. Anybody else want to add anything or change that or discuss the motion? Okay, hearing that, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Gotcha, Ed.
And my question then had to do with N2, the planning for the May 5th event. I didn't see the emergency preparedness week on the agenda anywhere, so I was just wondering, for those of us that aren't NERPs, wouldn't have gotten the detailed program from Ed's second in command, whose name has escaped me.
Yeah, it's in the works. The advertising should be out soon. I just discussed everything with Sophie and gave her the full update. But it will be here at the Fire Hall on May 5th from 12 till 3. The ESS will be here in full force. They're going to have their trailers out for tours. NERPs will be here. The fire department will be doing hot dogs and have their trucks out. There'll be coloring. There'll be a few tables set up in the EOC with various information pieces on them. I'm planning to have one regarding making a plan portion of emergency preparedness. I want to have a table showing the difference between an emergency kit and a grab-and-go bag. And we should have a Fire Smart table with information. The Fire Smart video should be ready, and that will be playing on the big screen that we're at right now. And then in the smaller room in the kitchen area, I'm going to have just kind of a continuous play of sorted emergency preparedness videos. And the RCMP will be here.
Okay, good. Are you going to have that organizational chart available for people to look at? Because I thought that was kind of explained the whole sort of how everybody fits together.
Yeah, for sure. I could print that out and have it as part of it too.
Just on a table. Okay.
And I did actually get that on the website. It is at the top of the emergency program page.
Very good.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. And anybody else got questions? I've got a couple before Tess finishes here.
I had one more bit.
Go ahead.
Which is not really part of the project updates. It's just kind of some training and event things that I have been to and am going to in the next little while. I did take part in the Western Canada Marine Response Incident Command Post exercise. That was back in January, I think it was, or yeah, shortly after our last meeting.
Sorry, Tess, can you say that again? Was that the mock spill exercise?
No, so it was an incident command post exercise, which was excellent because I had never been in an incident command post exercise. I've done the ICS training, but I've never actually set up a post before. So that was really interesting. And I thought one of my big takeaways from that particular is, I mean, it was amazing what they had set up and how they were doing everything. But they had these amazing technology to display and process all of the information. But when it came to the resource acquisitions and processing all of that, they stuck with the paper program. So I thought that was really interesting that what they found was working in such a large scale exercise. I also took part in a joint regional atmospheric river exercise. So it was all through the sea to sky. I think there were 6 EOCs opened along the sea to sky in an exercise for a regional atmospheric river event. So I was in Squamish, and I was just there as an observer. And again, my takeaway was they did an amazing job all the way through, and coordinating the calls at the end with all of the different EOCs was really great. But again, watching where the technology is used and where it works and where it doesn't work so well, I found really, really interesting. And I did just come back from the Network of ESS Teams conference in Kamloops. This is all of BC now. It used to be a northern event, but now they've opened it up to all of BC, and they now have EMCR support for that event. There was a lot of EMCR staff were there working on various panels and such. And so there were also two ESS members, the ESSD and one other member went as well. And we had one other attendee by virtual. And the takeaway for me on that one was the ombudsperson's report on the delivery of ESS services in BC and how EMCR and the ESS is managing that and dealing with it, and the recommendations and things they're putting in place to address those things. And upcoming May 1st, I'm at an all-day in-person event hosted by EMCR that is updating communities on the expected hazards for this that we're likely to experience this season. It's also
Did you say that last part again? I missed a little bit. The hazards
that we're likely to experience this season in BC.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
It's also going to include an update on the new app, an ESS update, and a short tabletop exercise. And I'm also going to be attending a series of virtual workshops that EMCR is hosting, including updating the all hazards framework in the comprehensive emergency management plans and developing disaster reduction plan and long-term emergency preparedness. So those are all upcoming in the next couple of months.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. You've answered my other questions, which were about that spill thing. And just to reassure everybody, I do use Alertable all the time. I just couldn't remember the name. Okay. Anybody got more questions for Tess? Great reporting, by the way. When we only have a meeting one every quarter, it's hard for those of us that go to tons of meetings to keep track. So this is a great way to see what we've been working on as well for the public. I think it could be very reassuring if anybody did look at our minutes to see all the work that staff are doing. So thanks for all this. And I just want to bring us back to that vote. Did we vote? I don't have a check mark beside Bruce Steele's thank you. We do. Did we, Steph?
We did.
We did.
Thank you. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Sorry, we did vote, but I would like one word. Was there ECT or something specific I can fill in?
Oh, well, I was just looking at Tessa's report, and she was just commenting that he was the ECT lead. So
What does that mean?
Emergency Communications Team.
Okay, so for thank him for the work he has done with the emergency communications team. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you, Tess and Aaron. And we're going to go on now to the 5.2, external organizations update. Is there anything besides what you've already spoken to that needs to be mentioned there?
I think this is where you're going to have your ambulance and health center, and it's NERPs, we used to
other
have them divvied out separately, but we're not always sure who's represented in the room. So we made this section as a catch-all for Gail, and
That'll pick up part of what we put in as 6.3.
sorry I didn't catch you at that time.
No, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe, Gail, do you want to start just for the record? Then we've got something in our minutes about changes to the ambulance service. What's your update?
Sure. As of April 1st, the Bowen Island is now a full-time ambulance station, which means there's two people at the station 24/7. So there's been a fair amount of hiring done, both some local and some from the provincial posting list. So we have 3 more people who actually live here who are amongst the hired people, and we have at least 2 or 3 who live off island. So who knows how long they'll last. And there's still 2 vacant lines that people did not apply for. So we'll just and it doesn't matter. That means those positions will be filled with spare board shifts until we can hopefully get fully filled. But yeah, so that's interesting. I'm not going to editorialize on it. I mean, the Bowen ambulance does about 250 calls a year, and I believe, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's happened, and I think there's going to be some real benefits from it for sure.
Very good. Thank you.
So how long is a shift?
12 hours.
Just Liam, did you want to ask a question? Electronic hands are great, by the way, everybody.
I couldn't find it quickly enough, and I thought you were moving on to the next next item.
No. Liam, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I actually just wanted to acknowledge and share my appreciation for Gail Littles, who just hit a really big milestone this month of 35 years in the service, which is pretty remarkable. I've learned that yesterday at the health center opening, where I believe Gail in the morning had some recognition from some of the ambulance management team, perhaps. I don't know the exact title. But I think that's remarkable, and we're really lucky to have Gail, and still in service, still saving lives today. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Gail.
Yes. Thank you, Gail. Very good. Woohoo! Excellent. Thanks. And anybody else got questions for Gail or things they want to say on this topic? Okay, thanks. We can always come back. How about the NERPs? Ed, do you want to
Sure.
give us an update?
We had a meeting, Liam, Aaron, Tess, and I, to talk about the insurance issue. As you know, there was an accident that triggered the insurance, and it showed us that we really weren't covered, and we can't be covered according to the insurance policy. One has to be under the direct supervision direction of a municipal employee in order to be covered. And of course, NERP is a grassroots organization that focuses way below that. So what we're going to do, we have a letter drafted, we have a waiver drafted. We're going to send that out to all the NERPs and very clearly explain that there's no longer insurance, and should they wish to continue as NERPs, to sign the waiver that will prove that the Muni is not responsible. That will go out. We have everything set. I don't know when you want to send that out, Tess.
Yeah, I was just waiting for your, I sent it back to you with a couple of other edits. And so I'm just waiting for that.
I sent it back, I believe. I'll check.
I'll check.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to note that we're at 10:30, which is when this meeting was scheduled to end. So if anybody's got to go, I could bump you up on the agenda. Okay, then if we're okay to carry on for another 15, 20 minutes, that would be terrific. Seeing no objection. Councillor Morris, you had your hand up, or you wanted to ask a question earlier?
I asked it.
Okay.
I got my answer.
Thank you. And how about, we're still on 5.2, fire department. Do you want to update us on anything, Aaron?
Just a couple of things. We've been working on taking on some new volunteers, and that's been taking up a lot of time lately. And then just also working on the radio repeaters up at Mount Gardner, getting those finally up and running, and those are now in working order. We just need to get the radios programmed, and that will be all going as well. So yeah, that's about it.
Very good. Thank you. Is that the Starlink one, or is the just the radio repeaters?
No, this is for updates to the radios for the EOC. So they'll be able to be used all across the entire island as opposed to being sort of point to point, which is what they were before.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay. And anybody else got questions for the fire chief? And any other external organizations? I don't think we've got more here today. Okay, so moving on then from 5.2 to 6.1. Is this the same after exercise report test that was added to you reported on verbally, I think, at the last meeting?
Yeah, so I think the after action report itself was included in the last meeting.
Yeah.
What this is actually about is the recommendations that came from that. I did a spreadsheet that's attached to the agenda.
It's not
And
attached.
Oh, it's not attached.
Did it come with the email as an Excel document? I'll take a look.
It did. That was the one that we had difficulties making it into a PDF because of the sheer length of it. But I did send it to you as a PDF after the fact. We talked after we met.
Okay. I can send that now and attach it to a revised.
Okay, let's come back to that then when we've got a chance to check our email. And maybe we'll go on 6.2 911 update, Liam.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So I've reported out on this before and Tessa's been doing some great work in the background on updating our data so that when we move to next gen 911, we're in a good position. Just a quick summary, the big thing about next gen 911 is that it provides a greater accuracy for location of where calls are coming in from for emergency responders to be able to then respond to that call. And essentially, there's been some movement more nationally and local and regionally, and the province has given, well, actually the CRTC has given TELUS the green light to provide that service. And so TELUS is working through regional agreements with every 27 regional districts in the province. And so they've got an agreement drafted for Metro Vancouver to sign. And then each municipality within each regional district will sign a sub-agreement which effectively commits us to providing updated GIS data to the regional district, which in turn then provides that to TELUS for the NG 911. So it's great that Tess has been working with our GIS provider, Chartwell, to actually do updated data, which will help our local emergency responders. But we need to review. We've just got, like literally, I believe it was last week or so, the draft agreement, and we need to look at that in more detail to understand what if any other kind of implications there are for us in that. But So I believe we won't really see next gen 911 roll out until 2025. And I don't think for most of us as end users will know any difference. So it'll still just be calling 911. But I think what we would hope to see is, as end users, is that maybe there's a swifter response time. I mean, it's pretty darn good here already on phone. So, but this will be much better, especially for those hard to find homes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions for the CFO? Okay. So we're going to move on just to 6.3 because this is just to recognize that yesterday was the beginnings of the opening of the Bowen Island Health Center. And so they're going to be open. Their hours will be by fall anyway, 8 to 8 and Saturday morning. So that will give some people a little bit of emergency support in terms of cuts on your hand and things like that you might not want to go all the way into the city for. But stand by for more news on that. This was just a pre-opening, and I wanted to let you know I went down to walk onto the ferry afterwards, so I had a wonderful time chatting away with Minister Adrian Dix the whole way over, and how to get off the ferry on the sun deck and everything. So there was more conversation afterwards and appreciation and all that. And let's see, looking at my notes, should we go to our email now to see the
Recommendations.
there it is. Okay, thank you. So if we can open up this spreadsheet.
I can share it as well. Well,
It's kind of
It's just so long. It's really hard for the sharing.
what's that?
So long. It's just hard for the
Yeah.
sharing. What is that?
Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, I've got it up here, and oh, I see what you mean. It's a long.
It just keeps going.
Yes.
it's too big a landscape.
Right to left, yes. Okay, are we ready to have Steph walk us quick, or sorry, Tess to walk us quickly through this? Share it with us. Go ahead.
Can you hide some of the column stuff to make it a little bit shorter?
Okay. Sure, I'll do.
Spreadsheet.
She's got the left column blocked so you can spread everything over. You can without losing anything.
Oh, okay.
Like if you just put your cursor in B or C, or in D or E or something and start scrolling, you'll.
Okay, so just going down this way. Are we mostly looking at B?
Yeah, that column B stays the same as you scroll through, so it's easy enough to move through this.
Okay. Like
Where
that.
would you like to
Okay.
start?
Well,
Tess?
scroll across.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
like
you
that.
go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so exciting.
You learned a new trick.
Well, I knew of the trick. I didn't know it was applied to here. But Tess, did you want to just go and I will try to keep up with you?
Yeah, I can do a bit of a walkthrough through the different sections. A lot under training and staffing. That first section. I am hoping to start working on a 5-year training and exercise program. It's a big job, and I don't have a lot of time, but I'm trying. Ideally, my ideal would be to actually put the plan in place with a full-scale exercise in the 5th year. So in the final year to actually have firemen out and doing having an ESS reception center activated and just doing a full exercise. For the target role specific training, we are doing these kind of pocket sessions. Pocket training sessions is how I think of them, where it's just 1 hour once a month. I have one section, one of the EOC sections, and we go over some training. We've started with the training on the email and phone systems, and how to use the SharePoint. So we've kind of started with that. The next ones will be on roles and responsibilities, which will start on this second recommendation on target role specific training. I am working on getting everyone familiar with all of the email systems. That's the, I think the tactical training. I can't remember which section that fell under. And roles and responsibilities will be next. I have identified one of them as a dedicated ESS branch coordinator. I have identified someone working in the EOC that will take on that role and is in the same section as the ESSD. So she's going to start, that will be Carla. She was going to start her training in the fall for ESS training so that she's better able to support the ESSD in the EOC. I'm also working on identifying a replacement for my role, so that should an activation occur while I'm away, there is somebody that knows how to do the things I've set into place. But that also involves completing an EOC plan, which has started but not quite complete. In the displays and technology section, we're working on most of that in one way or another. Some of it has been applied for in the EOC 2024 grant application, and other things have already been addressed. The EOC layout section has mostly been, has already been completed. And with ESS process and procedure, they're all things that will take a lot of staff time, both myself and the section chiefs. So as time permits with those 1 hour pocket training sessions, I will address those. So that's kind of a quick rundown, but does anybody have any questions about any of the items on that spreadsheet?
I just like to comment on the, again, the level of organization in detail. It's quite impressive. Thank you.
And thank you, Ed. And I second that. And I would like to just check ESSD is Emergency Support Services Director.
Yes, it is. So she's the lead of the ESS team.
Right. And that's Carolyn? Currently?
Carolyn McDonald. Yeah.
Got you.
She's ESSD for quite a while, and she's really great.
Thank you. It's just thick with acronyms. I wanted to make sure I was getting it right. Thank you. And
without the acronyms, that would have been even longer.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get it. I just wanted to make sure I was following. Thank you. Any more questions for Tess? Okay, then we're going to move on to section 7.1, the action items review. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm hoping that we're done here by 11. So we've got about 15 minutes left.
Okay, they're small. Test was to find out if the Bowen Island Health Center intends to be a distributor of.
We already did that.
Yeah, we did that. I think Councilor
Tessa's report. Yeah.
Okay. And the North Shore has been done?
Yeah, I've there's a couple of places and they have them available. You don't have to ask for the kit. You just have it in a innocuous place inside the facility, so somebody can just go and pick one up. So I was discussing that with Dr. Blackwood yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah,
and people were to review the legislation and provide notes to the committee, including Tess. That can be ongoing.
Yeah. I have to confess, I didn't do that. And I wondered if we wanted to have that on the next agenda as something so that we could discuss it together at a meeting. Or is that urgent? Could it wait till after Union of BC Municipalities, where we'll get a full rundown on it, the convention in the fall? What do you think? Is there urgency here, or should we just keep it as a look at it when you've got time and email the other ones of us?
I'll put my hand up here.
Yeah.
I've sort of been following it, and I sign up and I get their newsletters. There are some things that are somewhat time sensitive. So maybe we should be looking at the things that we're supposed to do within the first year or the first 6 months.
Change the action to.
Yeah, and talk about those. Because I know there's one about the First Nations engagement and just ascertaining who we're supposed to be talking with. And I think that one's fairly time sensitive.
So our next meeting is September the 3rd. Do we want to have it on that agenda? Or can we, I just don't think we can do good discussion by email. I wonder.
Well, you can't discuss with the procedure rules, make any decisions, but put it on the September agenda, and if people have read it and they've got questions, they can send the questions in.
Great, thank you. So if you could put that, Steph, on the agenda for discussion of the September meeting, particularly in terms of priorities. I think we've already established some 1A and 1B, right? The priorities, but we'll put it on the agenda, and I think council passed a motion. I saw it in the previous minutes. But just put it on the agenda and we'll try and flesh that out a little clearer as to what the task is. Okay, thank you. And then number 4, I did a bunch of work on this one, and I'll just take a few minutes to let you know what I've uncovered in case there's something that is of interest to the group if we want to follow up. My task was to find out how many burning days, open burning days, Sunshine Coast Regional District has. And that proved to be pretty much impossible because nobody lists the open burning days. And there are many volunteer fire departments and paid fire departments across the Sunshine Coast. So I wasn't able to do that quick comparison. But what I did look at was their procedures. And it looks like on the Sunshine Coast, and Aaron probably knows all this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that they follow what used to happen on Bowen, which is the fire chief decides, and based on local conditions and local air movement and weather on that day, and wind and all that. And so I thought that was interesting. I looked at Metro Vancouver Regional District Bylaw 1355, which is the one that sets up the whole area of the air quality bylaw. So it's basically everything that's in Metro Vancouver Regional District is the Schedule A, the map of it. So that's why we're included in it. It's not like there's I thought maybe if we shifted one boundary back a certain distance, but the boundary is basically just the boundary of the Metro Vancouver Regional District. So that wasn't going to help, but there is a part of the bylaw that says there's an option for open burning under Part 8, which is called a Plan for Community Wildfire Risk Reduction. And a local government like BIM could develop a plan like this that describes the risks to a community related to a fire starting outside the community and is threatening the community. So that's kind of a non-starter for an island, but I did talk to a few other folks. One of them was Peter Frinton, who's the chair of the Sunshine Coast Areas Air Quality Association. Anyway, and
it's a former Sea to Sky Air Quality Association, I think.
It's got a new name now.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what it is. Anyway, and it will. He said it, and he's a former councillor. He thought that adjusting our bylaw might be something, or creating one of these community wildfire risk reduction plans might be worthwhile doing. Anyway, we've got our wildfire resiliency plan, and of course the volunteer fire department has all kinds of other things in place, including Fire Smart. But here we are after this big winter storm last month with all these branches and trees down, branches down, and wood being piled up and wood chips being spread. And I'm kind of going, well, maybe there is a need for wildfire risk reduction plan. anyway, that might be one thing to do. So I looked at our community wildfire resiliency plan, and it talks about, I'm on page 31, fire protection bylaw number 41. That's our 1993 fire bylaw for Bowen. And it describes what we can do. Open camp burning and campfire rules are also delineated here, but the gap in our community wildfire resiliency plan, this is its recently updated 2022, the gap it identifies is that the fire department has no authority to mandate fire bans and no authority or mechanism to issue fines. Anyway, there might be a few other reasons for creating a community wildfire risk reduction plan. And so I just wanted to stop there and to say that there's another letter coming from a person in the community who council referred it just on previous Monday about perhaps investigating a wood chipping service or some kind of fuel reduction possibility now that we're not having the composting facility we're not going ahead with the composting facility. So just a few ideas. If anybody wants to follow up on anything with this, let me know and I'll write it up and send the links, and just interested in any other comments about piles of wood that lie on the ground waiting for burn days when you only have 2 or 3 burn days in a year, and all the wood chips that I'm seeing people spread around their properties now. How does that fit with Fire Smart? Is there anything we want to do at this beginning of the wildfire season, which we're hearing on the radio is looks like it's going to be a hot wildfire season? That is there anything we want to suggest from this meeting to do with reducing wildfire risk? That's my report. Councillor Morris.
Just on the issue of reducing risk, how long is it going to take to get all the stuff off the sides of the road that was fell down, Liam? Do you have any idea?
What I was told at the beginning of the event was that it might take as long as 2 months, and so that was back in March. And I know that just looking on our neighborhood, there's still work to be done, and so they've been making pretty good progress going neighborhood by neighborhood. And so I don't have an update in terms of how much more work they still have to do, but I know that there's still a lot out there, a lot of clearing up still.
Yeah.
And I guess my sort of follow-up question is, a lot of it's being chipped. It's being chipped, or it's being hauled to a central site.
It's most of it's being chipped, and so because we have a very limited area for laydown for debris, like Salal and another spot, and they would fill up really fast. The other method that's been used in the past is to get a 40-yard bin at the bird site. But again, that fills up so fast. And so our chipper can only chip, well, it's not even our chipper, it's chippers that we're using through contractors. So they can only chip so much, and anything larger than that either gets taken to lay down, or I don't think we're doing a bin. But the bin is expensive and it fills up really fast.
Yeah. And then I guess my follow-up question, which I don't need an answer for today, but I think we should do, is some chips are better than others, or the size? I mean, I'm just worried about, long bits of cedar chips lying near the sides of the road, and fire hazard that they create, or can create, or do create. So it's more of a question, and maybe we need to involve Carla in that.
Well, again, it comes back to like, where do you put the chips?
Yeah.
So we just don't have the space or the like customer base that's interested. I mean, I'm always amazed to see all sorts of different people that are willing to receive chips, and it's just, you know, because all of the contractors that do chipping as well, they're constantly looking for a place to put their chips, and so it's like you can't even give it away fast enough. Yeah, I don't have a great response other than like you know, the chipping just going into the edge of the forest. Or yeah.
Well, I have a question for the fire chief, and it's exactly about this, and a good question about the cedar is would it be less risky to spread chips in the shade of a forest as opposed to leaving them in the open around your house? I'm just thinking about and without going into huge detail, it's 10:58. I just want to say I'm glad to hear, Tess, did I understand correctly that there's still room for people to book Fire Smart assessments this year?
There may be additional, but right now we've done all of the assessments that was included in the grant. We just have not paid out all the rebate money. So we're giving the people that had the assessments an opportunity to submit their rebate application. And then we've given them until the end of June. And then once that time period is done, then we can reassess it and see if there's funds for further assessments.
Thank you very much. And meanwhile, if people have a bunch of branches and they're wondering, well, they can always call the fire department for advice. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. And at this point, one thing I can add to your question there is, or I can help with, is spreading chips over a larger area is much safer than creating one big pile of chips somewhere. That's spreading them out over the sides of the roads is definitely safer than if we were to have storing them all in a large area.
Thank you. I was hoping for at least one practical tip, and that's very useful. Thank you very much. And regarding, you know, I think what I'll do is I'll follow up and sketch up my notes a little more clearly and bring them to the next meeting, so this committee can decide whether we want to look at a community wildfire risk reduction plan, whether that might be a way to get into some of these questions that we don't have answers for, or ways to support applying for grants or whatever. Anyway, so you can put that under an action item as I'll bring something to the next meeting in writing. Meanwhile, back on our action items review, I think that was the end of that part, and we're into the information items that are just provided for reference. And on to our next meeting is September the 3rd, unless anybody else has got anything they want to talk about before we adjourn.
Can I just ask one question? Aaron, when does burning end? Did it end yesterday?
It did end yesterday, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And that's right. Okay, so thanks everybody. And then with that, I'm going to call for who'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
I will.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And thank you. Goodbye, everybody. I don't think we need to say anything. So thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.